two of us in the room, and there's one of us coming in. Carol's about to make her way up to the room here in a minute, so we'll say hello to her when she gets here. And I think what I'm going to do is, in case there's viewers who are watching and they want to join by Zoom, I'm going to open a Zoom meeting. And if you give me just a minute, I'll do that. You'll have to watch on YouTube because that's just how it works.
Greetings.
Greetings.
I would have called ahead if I knew you were so busy.
I know. This is pretty pathetic. But, you know, I think it's just that time of year.
Well, I didn't get an email about the meeting, I don't think, but I saw it on the website.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Maybe people needed a reminder email.
Yeah, possibly. All right, let me see if there's anybody viewing. Okay, so there's one viewer on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
So if you want to join us on Zoom, you'll have to watch and listen on the YouTube feed, but you can join us using our standard. I believe it is. I better check before I give the number.
I thought we got a suntan.
Been outside more. The quality's really nice.
Yeah, it's like sun.
Yeah, you shouldn't have that here. Wow.
It's loud too.
Did you change what you use for an amplifier in there?
It's just the little board that.
Oh, that's the air freshener one.
Yeah, it's the little board that Mike used to put together with the, was it 555?
Yeah. Try here comes the Zoom meeting number. So this is the number, it's 631.
Wait a minute, say it again. 631.
659 7812. Again, 631 659 7812. And then I think if you, Bob will check here if you need a password. If you do.
Oh, I was just sending, I was texting it to Neil.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
I don't have Zoom on this.
that's fine. So ask him if he needs a password, and if he does, I'll give it to him. Usually, I don't need a password because I just allow people to enter the room.
So far, he hasn't read it.
So since our last meeting, did we have the swap meet? There was nothing, no other meetings in between the swap meet and today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how did you guys do with your booth on the swap meet?
We were right across the way from you.
I know, I saw you there, you and JoJo.
Yeah, we had one individual renewed his membership to WRL.
Oh, okay.
The rest of the time we were just giving information. Some people who were new hands, giving information about ARL and encouraging them to join. So giving information about clubs. People wanted to know, where do they hook up with a local club. So that's what we do, it's what we typically do. And,
Sure. Yeah, JoJo was excited as usual. I saw him running about and doing his thing and taking pictures. That was pretty nice. So I saw he sent some pictures to us to look at. I need to post some pictures at some point. So at least you got people signed up. I thought I had read that they were going to be doing testing, but I guess that's not the case.
It was advertised, but I'm not sure if...
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on the flyer.
They didn't do it. But yes, that's what I heard. And then I said to somebody while I was there, I thought they were going to do testing, or did they start the testing? And they said, no, we don't do testing here. And I was like, I could have sworn I was told they were testing tonight, or today. So, I guess they didn't.
Well, there will be testing at this Hamfest coming up this Saturday up in Reading.
Oh, that's Reading.
And I've got the car packed already to go.
Well, why don't you tell everybody about the Reading swap meet coming up? Where is that? Do you know?
It's going to be at Bentronics which is 141 Locust Street in Reading.
Okay.
And we're going to be there I spoke with the organizer, and he says this is the first time ARRL has that booth up there. So I am making the effort. I'm driving up tomorrow night and be staying in a hotel, so I'd be bright-eyed, bushy-tailed first thing in the morning to set up rather than try to drive through the dark AM, to get there early.
Oh, so you're going tonight? Or no, when is it, Friday night?
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow night, and we will be there Saturday. It starts at 8 a.m. sharp. And,
That's nice and late. I like that.
8 a.m. And it's, I guess it's a big swap meet for all the people in the northern part of the section. So we get to see a lot of those people for the state of Jefferson. And I'm looking forward to it. I've already been contacted by someone who's going to be taking an exam there and wants to stop by to get a LRL booth as well. And I've never been to Ventronics, but apparently it's something similar to a Radio Shack store. They have all kinds of components and things. So maybe I'll look in the store there and see. It's nice to have something like that up there. And wish we had something like that here. But
It's an electronic store?
electronic parts, yeah.
Oh, right. Like we used to have.
Like we used to have a couple of.
Yeah. That's a shame. Yeah, I know he went away.
Well,
And
I retired.
Yeah, he retired. And I also talked to the guy who had the ham store here too, before HRO, of course. And he said that not to bother because people would come drink my coffee all day and then go buy everything online. And that's why he shut the store down.
Is that Glenn?
I think it was, yeah.
That was Radio Place. I think it was called.
Glenn
Place,
Stillwell, his dad started the thing. So on Freeport Boulevard.
Yeah, but for some reason, I guess apparently they're not above buying at HRO because I'm sure they must be having sales.
They're doing a brisk business there.
Are they?
Good.
Every time I drop in, they usually have 2 or 3 customers.
You know, my guess is that the store does well because online you're going to pay tax anyway. So why not just skip the
Delivery
the
stuff.
delivery part, yeah, and just pay the sales tax anyway, and you're as good as gold going to the store. No need to avoid that. So it's just as good as online. You're not going to get any better price. Maybe Gigaparts. Once in a while I find Gigaparts is slightly lower on the big radios and that sort of thing. But that's because he tends to, Bobby it is, he tends to push the prices lower and lower and lower. He says he does it because of the competition. But I've seen it where
It's a race to the bottom.
it's a race to the bottom. And I talked to him about it before. I said, why are we doing this? Why? And he's like, I only do it because I have to compete with the other people. And I'm like, but you don't have to start it. Oh, we never started. And I'm just like,
Well, HRO doesn't do that.
no, well, they
Price
used to.
match.
They
But
used
yeah.
Now they do. Or no, I'm sorry. They used to, and now they don't. So HRO's actually gotten a little better about not trying to race to the bottom anymore since the father died. The son took it over. But yeah, Gigaparts is still doing it, and then Bob over at DX Engineering, for the longest time, he was being real careful about not racing to the bottom, but he's just getting pummeled by Gigaparts, so he has to do what he has to do. So every time Gigaparts lowers, he tries to match as close as he can, and then Gigaparts has to go down another nickel or $1 or whatever. So, but that's unfortunately the nature of the business. So we all kind of suffer because of it.
That was a nice experience to have a brick and mortar store that you can walk into.
I agree.
And talk to somebody face to face and actually see the product before you actually buy it.
Yeah.
So that's a value added for us here in this community, having that store here.
I agree. And I have to admit, I haven't been to the store yet either. So I wouldn't mind going in. I've driven by it 2 or 3 times, but I've never actually opened the door and go inside. Have you been inside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We even bought things there.
How about that?
I want to get an antenna mount for a car, and you don't know which one fits unless you can go and
Oh yeah,
try
screw
them
the
on.
two together or something.
And so hopefully they'll open some packages up and find me a mount that'll work.
Yeah, I don't know about opening packages, maybe, but.
Well, how else are you gonna find out if the, or at least you can
Well,
look
if
at,
they
you can at
have
least
enough
look at
knowledge of the products they sell, they technically should be able to look at it and say, oh, that's an NMO mount. And
Well, I know that. Well, that part's the easy part. It's the bracket that goes in between, like the hood and the fender, that you need to have it fit.
I see.
I mean, you're gonna have an SO.
Yeah, I don't know what their
SO
return
239
policy.
and an NMO, and that's pretty much it.
Do you know what their return policy is at the store?
Yeah.
I'm not
I
sure,
haven't
but I
bought
know
anything.
that.
Well, I just drive the truck there and say, here, I want one that fits.
I think that sometimes they ignore the policy because they have a 15% restock fee.
Mhm.
There's a lot of times where I've said to somebody, you know what, if you want technical and operational support, you just go, they'll call me the day they get it even, and they'll have a problem, and I'll say, return it to the store, buy it from us, the same price, maybe we're $5 higher, but I promise you, you're gonna get your $5 in the first 2 seconds you call.
Yeah.
And they'll do it, and the last two people, they knew who sold it to them, and they didn't have a restock fee. But I've had other people where they returned it and they had to pay 15% to return it. And they've called me back and said, no, I can't do it. Can you sell me technical support? And that's one of the things that I don't actually do. I haven't sold technical and operational support. Because to me, it seems like it'd be too much. I charge $65 an hour, so why not charge $65 an hour for technical and operational support? But I just feel like people would not want to pay that kind of money. So I've just said, no, don't sell it. Just buy the product from us. You don't have to worry about that. So nobody joined us yet, so I'm assuming Neil hasn't read his message.
He's working with his wife at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking getting a screwdriver antenna, and if they sell them,
I think they
hopefully I won't have to pay shipping to the store.
I don't think you do.
And just buy it there.
Yeah, I think that whatever you order can come to the store at no
Yeah.
charge. Because they have to move stuff between stores.
Yeah, they've got a truck going between,
Yeah,
wherever their storage place is.
exactly. So I think that you stand a good chance of getting free delivery.
Which one do you have, 1,000?
I have the Tar Heel 100.
Oh, 100, yeah.
They, when I was back in the storeroom, I saw a number of those screwdrivers up on the shelves.
Yeah.
So they may have a model they're interested in.
Is that, 40 through 10 for the 100?
It's 80 through 10.
80 through 10.
And I'll handle 1,500 watts.
Wow. Yeah,
And that's the smaller diameter one, isn't it? Or is it
It's the larger one.
The 100 is the bigger one?
Yeah, the 100 HP, it has HP for high power again.
Okay.
The other one you're thinking about is a little Tar Heel, which I think.
Oh, that would,
No.
Yeah, the one that Mike, K6LQ, I think he sold it to John, UBK, and John installed it on the back of his car for a trip. And he came over because he wanted to have help with the antenna analyzer to look at the thing and see how it was doing. And I looked at it and I said, you have a ground problem. I could just tell because we couldn't get it tuned properly, and the resistance was high, the pure resistance. So I said, you have a ground problem. So we ended up messing around, and I touched the coaxial cable to this bracket that was mounted to the chassis, and he had it on a tow hitch.
right.
And the tow hitch, of course, is connected to the car.
And so it didn't have much
Yeah,
ground.
right. There was a screw holding it onto the hitch.
Yeah.
And but he figured that it'd be okay. And then inside the car, where the antenna went in, he had it going to this unit that goes to the head unit in the front of the car, and that was mounted to the bracket
To
inside.
plastic?
No, it was mounted to a metal bracket
Oh.
inside the car. But apparently that wasn't enough ground either. So, but when I touched it there, it worked, and I could see immediately that okay, yeah, look at this. things are looking a lot better now. So he said he would run a wire from that bracket to, he was gonna run a wire from the bracket to another ground source.
Yeah.
And I think he ended up running a wire from that bracket to the other piece of equipment, like the radio unit.
Right.
And then it didn't fix it completely, but he said it was getting better. So he ended up running a new ground wire to chassis the car, and then he told me that the thing was now tuning properly.
Well, the problem I'm gonna have, I'm gonna get a new truck, and I've been reading the manual and the owner's manual and everything else, and they say do not hook anything directly to the battery.
Right.
Because it's got this
Computer.
battery management system.
Yeah.
And it shows a drop that the computer can't understand
Got
what
it.
it is.
Interesting.
So I, from reading between the lines, apparently you can hook a ground to the chassis of the truck, but not to the battery. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
They just take it to where and have them drill holes so that, you know, I'm not drilling through a computer or something like that.
yeah, well, I think you'd probably be okay. You know, is there anywhere in the meeting that tells you what your meeting number is? I know there's usually like a place. Let me see, invite. No, I think I am on the main account. For the second person that's here on YouTube, if you're interested in checking in on Zoom, you'll have to watch and listen here, but you can show yourself on Zoom if you like and say hello. The number for the room
Yeah, that's helpful.
is
Yeah.
I mean, if you're home, if you're using it, you can put a, you know, a
659
on it and check
7812. Again,
So there's a target tuner.
631
Yeah.
659
You just count
7812.
Yeah, actually, it had.
You'll find that
Right.
information on our calendar as well. Not this month, but probably 2 months ago was the last time we used Zoom, but it looks like there's some people here that may want to join us. So, hang on 1 second, let me just give the number one more time. Room number is 631 659 7812. 631-659-7812. I don't think it needs a password, but if it does, you're welcome
You
to
got like six.
let me know on
Right,
the
yeah,
chat
just-
here.
Oh, that's nice.
I was over in Newington last week.
Requesting to enter the room, and then I can.
So those are gonna be on the web in a while.
What's that?
Oh, no, I just picked up some ARL
Right.
clothing. I was in Newington last week at the headquarters.
Mhm.
Dropped in, had a nice little operator.
Oh, you went back east?
Yeah, I was back east.
Exciting.
I was there for 10 days. I was for my 50-year high school class reunion, which was great. I also,
So you're for back east then?
yes, yeah.
I did
yeah.
not know that.
We flew back to New York City.
Uh-huh.
My sister and I drove to Virginia immediately just to go spend 5 days with my daughter and her family, see the grandkids. Then we came back to New York, did my reunion in Manhattan, which is where I went to school. And the day before I returned here, we drove up to the Hartford, Connecticut area to visit some cousins up there who live just 15 minutes away from headquarters. So we worked everything in, and it was great. I had a nice talk with Mike Walters at W6SFM, who is the new director of field services for Freyr.
Oh, yeah, that was in last month's UST.
Yeah, he's new, and they're really going gung-ho to reach out to clubs and give clubs more resources to grow the clubs. And so we're really looking to bounce back. To
What kind of resources?
Online resources, also they're actually going to have staff dedicated to provide for the needs of the clubs to help you grow your clubs. So
I'd like to get me information on that.
Absolutely. I will give you links so you can, they're supposed to be working through our affiliated club coordinator. So,
I'd love to see more than 3 people at a meeting.
getting them up to speed. And yeah, we have to bounce back because the pandemic has done a number on a lot of clubs.
Yes, it has.
So, we're going to bounce back, and there's a lot of enthusiasm to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's an awful lot of pent-up demand too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every net. Anybody know when we're going back to indoors?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting pretty bad where I canceled our Zoom. I was like, you know what, there's just no
Why
way of
spend the
paying.
money?
Yeah, not paying anymore. Because we've now been live for 5 months, 6 months, and it's just not, I have a Zoom meeting open right now, and nobody's checking in. I see that we have 2 viewers on YouTube. Oh,
Hi, YouTube.
yep. So, are you laughing at them, Carol?
No, I'm saying hi,
Oh,
just a hello hi.
Oh,
it was age pause. Hi.
yeah, right. I guess you didn't repeat it twice, so yeah, you're not laughing now. Yeah, the pandemic just killed a lot of everything. Even the churches. It's almost like it was a calculated thing to knock out churches, and now that the churches are coming back on, they've actually come out with new laws. I don't know if you've heard about it. I was talking about it on the net about 3 weeks ago. They announced this new law that says if you're not a 501c3, then the church cannot offer any outside groups, non-charity, federal listed, non-charitable or charitable groups. They cannot offer them any services. They cannot take money from anyone that's not charitable services either. So, for example, this club can't use the facilities anymore, and I can't teach classes anymore, and they can't rent the hall out to quinceañeras to make a little, to help pay for facilities. They can't have other groups that aren't, registered as 501c3 use the facilities or pay them money in any way. Can't even have a bake sale or, host an event.
Okay, so they just can't do it for pay,
No,
not even for free?
not even for free.
Well, you could make us honorary members of the church.
We are.
I believe.
Yeah. No, the club will be hosted as a emergency services group for the church, and because of that, we'll be allowed. That's the thought anyway. I haven't really discussed it with them yet, but the concept is that if they bring us in as an organization of the church, which we should be because we provide emergency communications to them, and I'm a member, so it's not like they're just handing it to any random group. So, and in order to use the facilities as a 501c3 group as well, you have to be educational, safety, they've narrowed it to what those individual groups can do as well. So, I don't even know if Alcoholics Anonymous will work because of, they have to be characterized as a specific 501c3. But it hasn't gone into effect yet. They announced it, but they haven't. I don't think the law has actually taken place yet. But when it does, like I said, that discussion will happen with the church, and I'm hoping that they're gonna bring us in as a part of the church. They already know that everybody in the church is allowed to join the class for free, and all these meetings, they can come to any of the meetings. We're listed on the calendar for the church. So we are a church group. We're just, it's not on paper yet. It's just on calendar, but not on paper. So once they get that figured out, hopefully that will make it so that we're able to do what we're doing here, and we won't have to worry about arguing about that, you know.
You go to Pacific Line?
Yes, I'll be working at the ARRL
Okay.
booth there and also the YLRL.
Okay.
So we have a YL forum that's scheduled for Saturday at 2 p.m. from 2 to 4 p.m.
When is Pacificon?
Next week.
Oh, it's the next week.
It's next weekend.
So this weekend's Reading, and then next weekend is
Pacific.
Is San Ramon.
in San Ramon. Okay, that's at the Marriott or something.
The Marriott.
Yeah.
The same weekend is Jamboree on the Air.
Mm.
So there's always a group of scouts over there that are operating out of a room and doing whatever they're doing and talk. I think they do it on the internet as well as on the air now. They call it JOTI as well as JOTA.
Mm.
And there's a group over here, Orion Entrance, AI6JB, who is the section youth coordinator, is going to be running an activity for the scouts at Dry Creek Ranch.
Oh.
And there's another Cub
He
Camp.
usually calls and lets me know so that I can help him with the event. You know, bring out a station for code. So,
Well, you
yeah,
know,
let him know if you talk to him between now and then. Well,
Yeah.
that's the same weekend as Pacificon?
it is.
I don't know if I'm going to go to Pacificon or not. Only because I'm just getting tired of driving around everywhere.
So if you're interested, I'll go ahead and send you both an email that you're interested in helping out there.
Yeah.
And that should be good.
Yeah, because if I don't go to Pacificon, I may go there. I know he does. I think he did the flag ceremony.
That's what it is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
They're doing the flag ceremony on the same weekend as Pacificon, and it's going to be over there at the Dry Creek Ranch.
Okay. Now, Dry Creek Ranch, that's the where you guys used to do your field day?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not at the Gibson Ranch Park?
No, it's like a mile away from there.
Right, yeah. It's off of, is
It's
it
off of Elkhorn
Elkhorn.
and Dry Creek Road.
Okay, yeah. I've been out there once or twice. So I have an idea. It's a little bit away, but it's not that far. So, well, that sounds good. Interesting. So it's not going to be as a large an area as it was, because that place, if I remember correct, like where the museum house is, there's only a big front lawn, and then
Yeah,
there's
but then there's whole tons of grass to the south.
behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's where
remember
they do
seeing
farm and
that.
tractor days.
Yeah, I just thought that
tons
you,
of tractors.
I thought you couldn't walk on
Checkers.
that. It was too muddy or too.
Yeah, it's fine.
It is okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, so how did the club do on CQP?
Okay.
And give us a report since I wasn't there.
All right. So tell you what. Let me. I have like 4 or 5 pictures. So if you want to see pictures that I took, let's see here. If I can remember where they are on my phone. There it is.
And they were at your QTH.
Yeah, so we were going to go to John's. John got sick, and he decided that he did not want to infect anybody, luckily. And he went ahead and said that he would appreciate it if I took the event. And I, of course, obliged. So we set up just like we did for field day. Yeah, it was probably about 8 or 9 going forward. You can probably view them sideways, get a better.
Okay, well, it looks familiar.
Yeah, it's nothing different than we haven't had. So we had Art, GBY. We had John Nall, AI6W. We had Chris, AI6W. We had David, K6CIM. Matt, who's a new member. I think Matt, I can't remember his Matt's called. Let me look him up on our website.
Used your K3.
Yeah, so, oh, you know what? Shoot, I forgot. I need to talk about that too.
Nice.
Let me see if I can find. We have 2 new members, by the way. One of them is Breck. Breck's call is, I believe, K6WHW. Let me see if I can find him on the list here. Yeah, Breck is K6WHW. And then, thank you. And then the other one is Matt. And Matt's call is, I think it's, gosh, let me just do control font. N6CUQ. So both Breck and Matt are in my ham Morse code class, and they're both new members. And Matt came to the event, so I believe we had a total of 8 people. Yeah, so better turnout than a meeting.
Well,
I think I didn't advertise the meeting, as Carol said, and I believe that's probably why we're having
it's the first Thursday of the month. If you end up with a problem like that again, there's a pretty good chance you guys can come to my house if you wanted to. So now that the antenna's been up for a week and 3 days.
Yeah,
or 4 days.
oh, so the tower is up?
Yeah, so I worked the CQP contest component.
Ah, that's why you were home, because you said, I want to use my actual antenna in an event. Well, that was clever of you.
So anyway, it's back up and it seems to work. And I'm going to be more circumspect when the wind comes up.
You'll bring your tower down.
And it's also not up, but it's full extension too. So
Oh.
that,
Bob in EA came too.
oh,
Yeah, so that was unexpected. He actually came, I think, because, well, there was an event, but he really came for the social activity. But he came because he was dropping off a Ringo Rangers 6-meter antenna for me.
oh, fun.
Because I had an 8 or 10 element 2-meter Yagi, and I gave it to him when he was over. He says, "Oh well, I'll give you a 6-meter antenna." I was like, "Oh, I'd love a 6-meter antenna. I'll never use the 2-meter antenna, so I might as well." So he came back over. I had totally forgotten that he was going to give it to me, and then he showed up and he says, "I brought you Ringo Ranger," and I was just like, "Oh wow, I forgot about that." And interestingly enough, one of the elements had fallen off of the Yagi, and I didn't notice. And he told me, he called me on the phone. He's like, "Oh, one of the elements is interesting, but don't worry, I'll make one." And he did. But when he came over, I had incidentally that morning found the element lying on the floor where the antenna in that area.
Yeah.
So I handed it to him and I said, "Hey, there's the element that came off. So now you don't have to guess at the size of it. Here's the pre-tuned element." So yeah, he went home with the element, and that was good. So that he was able to have what he needed to get on the air. I don't know if he wasn't, but he was able to get on the air. One more time for anybody who's on the YouTube. If you want to join us on Zoom, you'll still have to listen and watch here, but the meeting number or the room number is 631-659-7812. 631-659-7812. You can always rewind this video if you need to play that back. And if there is a password, it's just ham radio, all one word, lowercase, HAMRADIO. All one word, lowercase, and then I'll let you in the room. I don't know that you need password though, so in any case. Just want to mention that since I see there are some people out there. So, yeah, so we had a good time. Let me pull up the logs. So we usually go till 10 or 11
At night.
At night, yeah. The event is a 24-hour event, but
Well, it's 30 hours. Depending on which class you're in, you can work 24 of them.
yeah. So we decided, somebody just came up to the gate and pulled on me to see if it was open. This is why we keep the gate closed. We only usually work 12 hours. We usually work 9 to 9, 9
Right.
to 10. But I had a Broadway show that I was going to. It was kind of all messed up because originally I was supposed to go to that show on like the 2nd, and my wife had an event with her ice cream thing, so she canceled the show, and I had to pay additional money, another $160 to go to this show and change it to the date. But on the 2nd, my birthday was on the 4th, so we figured, okay, it'll be, thank you, 29. So I figured we'd use that as our birthday date type of thing, and so I paid the extra money, and then when it got handed to me where the event was at my place, I said, I'm happy to do it, but at 5 o'clock I have to leave. And then if people wanted to stay, because it was in the garage, I had my father-in-law coming over, and
You can push the lock button.
yeah, he offered, if they wanted, they could just pull the table into the garage, they all leave, and he closes the garage, and that's that, and I come home and back up. But right about 5 o'clock, when it was time for me to go, somewhere around, 5 o'clock, pretty much on the dot actually, the last person was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and leave. And so I was like, okay, that worked out fine. So I packed it up and we headed out at about 5:15, and let's see here, that was California, Houston, Harvey, let me see, it's probably M3J software. So on here. I have to turn those logs in by the 18th, I think. So maybe somebody should. Oh, let me see who's there. Is that Joe? He's living in W6SFM now. Oh, it's James.
Oh.
Good thing I kept on remembering. I did clean up at 5:15, and Chris did a lot of the operating. I decided to take some time off from this event, just because I wanted to enjoy socializing more. Let's see. Here we go. Here comes James. It's yeah, we're filling the room, that's for sure.
We're 25% bigger.
So you said your hat came out well. I'm looking at it. Doesn't look bad.
Yeah, it looks all right.
Okay, good.
It's got the right letters and numbers.
Yeah, I tried to make the text as big as I could, because they seem to have a little better time making it when it's large.
Mm-hmm.
You want to throw them your other
Wrong
self.
one?
I had Bob make one. Had one made for Bob, and you can see how they just destroyed it.
Nuts.
Just the PGQ is all crooked, and the 6 is all looks like an O. And so I had them remake it, and they redid it. So I was a bit concerned when you said.
Yeah, my 6 is a little smaller than the other one.
So is
still,
mine. It seems like they can't make a full-size 6. Now, I told them, get that 6 larger, and I think on his, they might have made it a font size larger.
Yeah.
So that it
It
looks,
looks a little better.
yeah, it looks a little better. But yeah, we both have a little smaller 6. And I think it has something to do with just how the typesetter is working.
Yeah.
But in any case, that's, it does look okay though. I can definitely see it's a 6 and not an O.
Yeah.
I was really concerned because, like I said, there's been QC. This is the second one of these too, and John the AI6W, it was the second one of his too. So everybody I've made 2 for. you're the only one that haven't, so I was a little nervous.
I waited a little bit, I guess. They got it right.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe.
So, well, his came after yours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think what it is the shorter the call, the larger I can make the font, because I don't want to get too close to the logo. So to keep it from looking squished up on the logo, I have to reduce the font, because they only let you print to here and here. You can't go farther out. Otherwise, I'd make it, a big thing up here.
Yeah.
But they won't let you. There's a field that is exactly to the edge here. So what I do is I pull the text all the way to the edge, then I make it as big as I can so that there's an even gap space. So if you have a long name like Robert, then you're going to be screwed on the other side. So we'll see what happens. I'm also looking into another vendor to do the same thing, but I have not found. I think this is a pretty high quality hat.
It's a nice hat.
The hat itself is.
Yeah. So I haven't found anybody else who has a high quality hat with a multicolor rim and the stitching,
Little piping.
Yeah, so this has a nice look to it. I wish they could do our regular logo with the full Sacramento, California, and having the Morse code down there.
Right.
But with embroidery, they told me it was just too small. Yeah, it was just too small. Okay, so discussing the California QSO party, we had that this last weekend. Was it last weekend?
Yep.
Yep. So again, we started at 9 in the morning. Brought out the KX3 and the 100-watt amp, and once again the amp failed us.
The
KX,
500 watt?
no, the 100 watt.
Oh, inside the radio?
The KXPA 100.
Oh, your little one.
Yeah, for the KX3. This amp is only used for the club events. It's
Right.
field day, any event we have at my place or somebody else's or in the park. So actually, I just wanted to mention that I need to get that repaired. I was going to repair it myself, but I'm really getting tired of repairing it. It'll be the third time. So I figure I want to send it to Renee, so I just want to get a quick vote if everybody's okay. We're looking at probably about $250.
I want to send it back to Alcraft.
I just want to send it back to Ellicraft and let
Yeah.
them work on it. Can we agree? Because I can't, the three of us, I've already talked to Chris and John, and they were fine so far.
Yeah, go for it.
But we're not allowed to spend over, I think, $75 without approval from members, so.
Oh, by quorum here?
I say so, as many as showed
There's
up.
lots of people on Zoom.
Yeah, I
They all
have
said
two
yes.
on Zoom. Let me see, on YouTube, just hold your thumb up. Let me get a thumbs up if you're okay with that. All right, good, 2 thumbs up. So we'll go ahead and send it in. Here's the options. We can pay about $250, get it repaired. We can buy a brand new, like a Yaesu 10, and that'll be like $1,500. Or we could find some sucker who wants to let us use their equipment every single event and, leave it for 24 hours over field day on the table for everybody to poke at. So I'm thinking the $250 is probably the best way to go, right?
Then it's clubs.
And that's approximate, because if we can fix it in 1 hour, I think what's happening is you transmit into it and the ATU is not tuning. So I think it's either a connection on the board between the two, or there's just some sort of communication error. So it may only be a 1 hour repair. Who knows? Maybe he's going to pull a connector out and put a new connector in there.
That's the KXP 800?
KXP 100, yeah. So it's got a tuner on the amp, and the amp is working fine. I can tell the amp works fine, but the tuner won't let the power through the tuner into the amp. So I don't suspect anything too difficult. So if we're lucky, it'll be 1 hour. If we're not lucky, it'll be probably 2 hours, and we're looking at about 250. So I'll go ahead and send it in. Everybody's okay with that? Okay. QSO party started at 9, had that issue. I thought I could poke around with it for a little bit. The first person really didn't show up till about 9:30. That was CIM, John Knoll. He showed up with donuts and coffee, which was nice. And of course, the club reimbursed him. Oh gosh, no, we haven't. The club is going to reimburse him $18 for the donuts and I think $20 for the coffee, something like that. It's in the text I have. So we'll have about $38 to $40 in reimbursement, and that the club just does. That's not a big deal. So, and we haven't really had an event since field day, and on field day we only spent like $80, I think. It was not very much money, even though we had about 8 or 12 people there. So it had to be at least 12 actually, probably 12 to 15. So you were at field day, weren't you?
I stopped by at the end to help clean up.
Yeah. So, it was the same exact setup as that this time. Again, we were supposed to go to John UVK's. He got ill, so he, at the last minute, sent it over to me. And we wouldn't have gone over to your place because it was too last minute. It was one day before. So,
But letting people know is hard.
yeah. So a lot of the operations were me at first, and then everybody got a chance who wanted to get on the key, got on the key. And Chris did a lot of operating. And for the first time, I didn't even bother changing the log with the person's initials who was actually on the radio operating. So you know how relaxed I must have been. Because I'm always anal retentive about making sure that I change the name on there so that later on I could say he operated X amount and he operated for this amount of time, and, just to break it down for the group. So I really have no record of the
So you operated the whole
No, Chris did it there.
Chris operated the whole thing?
Everything is CW. Oh no, that's mode CW. But I think his name or his initials were in there. So everybody but Matt left. We have 2 new members, Matt and Barek. Barek is K6WHW, and Matt is N6CQ or CUQ, I think. I looked it up a minute ago, I forgot it. Either CQU or CUQ. But in any case, Matt stayed, and it was his first event. He joined our club because he's really interested in doing CW events. I told him we're not really a contest club, and he seems fine with that. He enjoyed logging for most of the event. And so we were at about 98 when everybody left except for Matt, and I said, even though I have to really leave 5 minutes ago, because I had to leave at 5 instead of 9, I said, I gotta at least get past 100. So we ended up with a total of 103 queues.
No QRP, basically?
No, actually, what happened, what ended up happening was I hooked up catering. I just went and pulled it out of my shaft and plugged it in, which I never liked doing. And there's John now. He's joining us on Zoom. So Zoom is working for those who are interested. But in any case, and we can hear you, John, if you turn on your mic. It looks like you have one on. Yeah, if you want to turn on your mic, you can, and you can say hello. Again, you'll have to listen to us.
UVK John?
Yeah, UVK. Haven't seen him since just before the event. So, hopefully you're feeling better, John. You can nod, because I can't actually can you. He's looking healthy.
There we go. Hi, John.
You gotta unmute if you want to talk. No,
Not on the screen.
He doesn't use voice, just Morse code.
Yeah. Can't hear you, Joe. Either click here, I'll ask you to unmute here, and I have to unpin you, and once I unpin you, I can do that.
It's an air freshener.
I do, I've never seen that last time. I like the sound of that in the box. Just disperse the air pressure and it's going.
That would actually be pretty cool too.
You should put a little fan in there and some sachet or something.
Yeah, so we got 104, which is pretty good, and took me probably about 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to try to put it all back before I got a yelling at, we gotta go. So the K3, as I put it back in, I couldn't get everything plugged in properly, so I went away. If you are familiar with K3, it has a stereo speaker output, and if you put a mono plug into it, it blows out this chip in the board. There's a mod that you can put in, and it's a resistor, so that if you plug in a mono, it brings it across a coupling capacitor and a resistor to keep it from blowing out that chip, because it gives it a load instead of a short. And I did do the mod, but I kept plugging in the speaker and I couldn't hear anything. And it turned out that the antenna tuner wasn't tuning properly. So I had it in manual mode, and I had thought that when it was in manual mode, it automatically tuned when you moved around the band. But it doesn't actually tune the antenna. So if you key up,
it goes to
presets,
yeah.
but it doesn't actually tune if it's out of tune. You have to go to tune mode or auto mode and tune it. So what was happening was the antenna was not tuned properly, and secondly, I forgot that I hadn't plugged my antenna back into the ballon that go into the jack. So I heard nothing on the radio, and I kept thinking that I had blown out the chip or something, and she's like, we gotta go. And I'm like, okay. So I left reluctantly and unplugged the speaker connectors, and then I got home and I plugged them in, and I was like, nah, I still don't hear anything. And then I started messing with the tuner, and I realized what was happening was I was on the wrong antenna, because I had no antenna. So I switched to the vertical instead of the horizontal, which is what we use. We use the 80-meter dipole, or the inverted V. And I switched the vertical on, and then I heard something, and I was like, okay, I didn't get the chip out. So then I got out the drawing, and after I got the drawing out, I realized that I was plugging in the wrong holes. I was plugging into the microphone side, not the speaker side. So I plugged that in the right place, and then I switched on the other antenna and realized I had no antenna. So I went out the next day and plugged it in, and everything was back to normal. But it had me for a little scare there for a minute. You know, those things are a little sensitive to that.
Yeah.
My speaker on-off switch is dead. You have to wiggle it up and down. You finally
You have the external speaker, you mean?
Yeah, the SP3.
Oh, yeah, I never could afford that. So, I didn't get
Now you have to get an SP4, you know.
Oh, is that? Oh, right, yeah.
So it's the same height as your K4 you're getting.
Well, I'm assuming that the K4 is the same height as the K3, no?
About that much taller. It's the same height as the KPA 1500.
But not as the 500. Oh, that's just wrong.
I know.
That's
But they needed the screen bigger, I guess.
Well, okay, I guess that's a trade-off. I didn't think about that because I thought I'd just put the other one in there and
You
everything would
just
fit
put a
just right.
couple of rubber erasers under the feet and it raises it up just fine.
For the KPA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good for sound isolation.
Yeah. Right.
Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, it doesn't really matter because I have my Cat 500 on top of the KPA 500, so it's already taller as it
Yeah,
is.
it's the same height.
As the
Well, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah,
We'll
see.
2024.
I did talk to Eric, and I sent you that email where I asked him about.
Oh yeah.
You know, basically the Sherwood report came back and said that the K4 did not have as good specs as the K3. So I wrote Eric and I said, you know, well, are you planning? Right. Well, I said, you know, are you planning to upgrade the DSP, and are you going to change out, you know, this for the filtering and the IMD and such, all the things that were wrong. And he answered back, I believe you got that answer too, that in order to get the specifications of the K4, he would have to use military grade DSP.
You couldn't afford
And
it.
it would be more expensive than the whole radio itself. And this is why they came out or are coming out with the HD mod, which is the super heterodyne front end. So essentially, you have to pay $6,000 to get what you already own, just with a fancy display. So I'm like, I really don't know that I want to spend that much. I'd rather buy a 7300 iPhone, which I've used at other people's houses, and I'm perfectly content with the 7300 and its DSP. I don't like passband tuning, but the radio sounds fine, which also probably says that the K4 without the HD front end would be as good, if not better, just because it has Lyle writing the DSP.
Yeah.
And we already know his DSP is good. John, are you talking now? Because I don't. Did you get that unmuted? There you go. Say hello to everyone.
Hey, John.
Because I also have the YouTube going, so there's an echo going on, so I wanted to turn it off.
Can you hear me on? Can you hear me on this?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't know you could hear us through this too.
yeah, I have you on YouTube also, and it took me a while to get the YouTube shut off, because otherwise I'd hear it on both of them, the echo. I didn't think anybody else wanted to hear that, so I left it muted.
Yeah, you don't even sound like you have a cold now. That's okay. Don't do that. I just said you sound like you had a cold. So that's great. How's Millie?
Pretty good. Not the same, a little better maybe.
Oh, even better than yourself?
Yeah, she's recuperating a little better.
Yeah.
A little
Well,
quicker. She doesn't have RA.
oh, you think that's making a difference?
Oh, probably.
Okay, interesting.
Whatever, luck of the draw.
Yeah, I suppose. At least you're not dead, and that's good.
Exactly.
So, you know, you did lose that left foot, but I guess you don't really need it anyway.
No, as long as I can UCW with my right arm.
Exactly. Even if it was a stump. It works. Anyway, yeah, so it's good to see you. You're not.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't make it in person.
Well, you could have, but
That's the way it goes.
you could have.
You wouldn't have made very many friends.
Do you see the room on the YouTube?
I did on the YouTube, I haven't got it yet on the,
You know, you can put the Zoom on the bottom screen, and you can put the YouTube up on the top screen. That way, it's that way you can see as well as hear.
well, how come we can't hear on the Zoom? How come we can't see on the Zoom?
Because the camera is being used to broadcast for YouTube. I mean,
Alright, I'll work on that. Of course, I already know it's in the pipe, so.
yeah, I just wanted you to see the room. I think we have a few You did. So you could have showed up. You could have sat on the entire, left side or right side of the room. You'd have been all, you'd have been all by yourself. So, but of course, I know you wouldn't want to wear that face diaper either. So,
I bet that is good.
yeah. Oh, come on! Are you kidding? We know it does. Oh, that's right. You have to wear two.
It's green, yeah.
Yeah, you have to wear two on one on top of each other.
Yeah, the military is all vaxxed up and they're all getting it. So,
Yeah. Well, I was telling Bob about a friend of mine. He went to a family gathering. There were 8 of them. He had CV already, and he got the shot after. And he was there with one other person in the family who had the vaccine, and the others didn't. Or no, 2 of them were vaccinated, not including him. He was the only one that had the virus and got vaccinated. And by the end of the party, 4 of them were sick, 2 of them had not vaccinated, 2 of them had. And then he didn't get it, and the other person that was vaccinated didn't have any symptoms, but he could have been asymptomatic. We don't know because he never had coronavirus before. So of the vaccinated, it was a 50-50 between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated that got sick at the party. So it didn't seem to make much difference whether they were vaccinated or not. And of course, everybody has survived. None of them are dead.
So did you get any large number of multipliers?
Oh, okay. So we're talking about the California QSO party, and right now, looking at the list, we had 103 contacts. We worked Alameda, Amador, El Dorado, Los Angeles, Orange County, Sacramento, San Diego. San Diego seemed to be pretty popular.
Yeah, it was strong.
San Mateo and Santa Clara.
Those
So-
don't count.
We got 9 counties,
Okay.
and there are an additional 49, I believe, that we did not yet.
Okay, so how many multipliers did you get off to the next one?
So the multipliers were 35.
Oh, that's good.
So we had 103 contacts with 309 points with 35 multipliers for a total score of 10,815. Not bad for,
Not bad for
You
6
know.
hours worth of work.
yeah, that's about right. About maybe more, maybe 8. So, well, we really didn't get on the air until officially, well, I can tell you because actually I'm almost afraid to. Because we had that problem, and like I said, we're not a contest club and nobody was in a hurry to really get on the air. So our first contact was actually at 10:08. So we had about an hour and 8 minutes before we actually probably started at 5 to 10. I think we started on 15 and nobody was answering, so we just moved to 20, I think. Yeah, it's marked as 80. I have to edit this log, but everything was on 20 meters at the beginning. So we worked, looks like 51 contacts in the morning there. In the first 2 hours, we made 51 contacts. So half of it was in the first 2 or 3 hours. And then the rest was, like I said, it was a day of just enjoying, having fun on the radio and talking to each other.
How was the solar flux?
Solar flux on that day was 95, I think.
Excellent.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
it was
excellent.
good.
And I was like so thinking we were going to get much better stations than we did. I understand we wouldn't do well with the counties because with the solar flux being high, we're just jumping right over all the local stuff.
Those counties don't count if you're in California.
No, they do. You still,
They're a contact.
Yeah, for context, but for
Right.
multipliers, you just go for one California for the first one.
yeah. So what are the 35 multipliers?
There are 58
58.
multipliers.
Okay.
There are 58 multipliers in California and 58 multipliers out of California.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So they put
Oh,
2 or 3 of the Canadian provinces together,
Ah.
so it would be the same number. So the out of state
yeah.
people can compete with the in-state people
I
to
see.
get the same number of multipliers.
Got it. Okay, yeah, we worked, where's MR, in Canada?
That's
That's
Yeah.
maritime
the
provinces.
multiple.
Oh, is that the
That's
Far
one of
East
the,
stuff?
yeah, that's one of the,
Okay. We
2 or
did
3.
Quebec,
Yeah.
Manitoba, Quebec,
A lot of people in Quebec.
yeah, and we also worked
Sure,
the
BC.
Northern Territory.
Oh, nice.
So that's probably why we got all those multipliers
Yeah.
from that. But there are other states within the United States that are multipliers?
All of
Every
them.
state.
Oh, every state.
all the 50 of them.
Okay, so we
Yeah,
worked,
50 in the Canadian.
we worked in the one district, we worked Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, Rhode Island, which is a hard one, Vermont. In the 2 district, we worked New Jersey. I could have sworn we had a New York, but I thought I was in
New York was Sunday. I got a couple of contacts.
Okay. Nothing in the 3 district. In the 4, we did Florida, of course, Georgia, Kentucky. The 5 district, we did Louisiana, and that's it. Not even Texas. That's
Oh, I got a ton of texts.
That's hard to believe. I can't believe we
But it
didn't
was
get
Texas.
Something
Texas
tells me
and
that.
Louisiana.
Tell me that. Something's weird there, because I can't
Yeah, I
believe
know,
we
yeah,
got
Louisiana.
And then in the 7 district, we got Montana, Nevada, Utah and Wyoming. And then nothing in the 8, nothing in the 9, and in the 0 you got Missouri, Iowa, North Dakota, Nebraska, and South Dakota. Let me see if this is going by band. Maybe if I change the band, it'll.
I finally got
No.
last at about 15 minutes before the contest ended.
Hawaii got it?
I got Hawaii.
Yeah.
I got,
So here's our QSO rate.
oh,
So there's that big block right there, and here, that's probably where we were eating donuts.
Donut time.
That's all I could think is that's donut time. Otherwise, we kept a pretty decent volume of contacts going. Never really, wasn't like dropping way down here. So that's pretty good. Let me see what other graphs I have. And let's see, now the only other thing is the county list, which is building now. And yeah, it's just basically what I gave you. We did not pick any Isle of Man or Wales, sorry. But yeah, so the QSOs were coming pretty decent. I can't tell you what they were per hour unless I really look at that graph, but obviously it was pretty steady throughout the entire event except for coffee and donuts. I don't know what those times were. I mean, we didn't really take a formal break. It might have been when I brought Matt into the shack to show him some keys and stuff. Maybe he was, the other people were just going a little slow, chatting out there. Instead, they didn't have Mother Hen watching over them. But, I don't know. So in any case, we had a good time. Were more people than I thought were going to show up. I thought for sure that we were going to have like 4 people, because as usual, I asked everybody to RSVP so that John would know how much food to put out for the group. And as usual, I only got 2 people who said that they were coming. And like I said, we had 8 people total. So, question. Last month, remember the bug extender?
Yeah.
And then it was between you and Neil, right?
No. Who was it? I can't remember who was it.
He was sitting here,
Yeah.
and you were sitting there.
Over there.
So, who was that? CIM, maybe? Maybe Dave? I'll have to look at the
do
video.
they want to try one?
Well,
I've got one.
well, I gave it to Neil.
Yeah, he brought it back.
And he brought it back.
Yeah.
So I brought it tonight thinking whoever it was that wanted it, I can now give it to them. But I don't recall who it was. I had thought it was you, but I'll have to watch the video and see who was sitting there. And then I'll be able to shoot him an email and let him know.
We have the YouTube.
That's why we've got the YouTube, that's right. And luckily we have all those seats filled with dust. So next month when I watch the video back to see who was over there, it'll be a little easier. But what about you, John? Are you making any contacts? Solar flux is still 85. Unmute.
You unmuted?
At half the time you can't. Hang on, John, you're muted again.
I said it's pretty rough making queso these days.
Yeah, why do you suppose? Is it a conditions thing, you think, or is it just not a lot of people on the air?
I think not a lot of people on that queso with J1AGT.
Oh, right, okay. Shin.
Nobody else is on the whole band.
What band were you on? What band was it?
Propagation.
What band was that? 17?
That was 40 meters.
Oh, 40 meters. Yeah, I haven't talked to Shin
I'm
in
sorry, 20 meters.
20, okay. Yeah, I haven't talked to Shin in probably 6 or 7 months. So,
years with me, but he's still, I guess, he's a good dog.
Oh, really? It's been years. You haven't talked to Shin in years?
Well, I did a field day that one time, but that was, you know.
That was 2 years ago too, probably.
Right, even that was 2, 3 years ago.
What's today, the 7th?
Actual use with him was quite a while back, like 5 years, at least.
Right. Yeah, well, the solar flux right now, I believe, is 85. When I left the house, I looked. So, I would have expected that it would have been a little better. And then I watched that solar report. Oh, by the way, I sent you an email with the link to Tamitha Scove's.
Yeah, I saw that, thanks.
Okay. Maybe you were spelling her name
I
wrong.
couldn't find it on the club website.
Oh, you can go to the homepage and scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and her videos are every time she posts a video.
If it's updated.
Sometimes websites are that way with me.
Okay, yeah. So what you do is you go to the bottom of our homepage, and then once you're at the bottom of the homepage, click on her video, and then click on the word YouTube in the bottom right corner. It will open YouTube, and then you can read the notes where her website is if you ever
Might
leave.
have been like conditions too, I don't know.
Yeah, possible. So, right. So, yeah, according to her report that I watched, thank you, before the end of the, or before I left, I mean, it said that October, I think her report only went to October 5th, or something like that, either the 4th or the 5th, and it said that we were at 103.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been we're definitely in the next cycle. There's no doubt about it. We've moved into cycle, what is it, 27? So, yeah, so we should be getting something here soon. Maybe we didn't have it this event, but I expect that we'll be hearing some DX on the air in the next few weeks again. I think she said that there was 2 new sunspots that were coming earthbound this week, and usually that brings up the noise level a little, but I think it's gonna make it a little better for the bands, that's for sure. If you go to the club website and you look on the right-hand side of the club website page, on most all the pages, as a matter of fact, there's the solar terrestrial data, and it's, let me refresh this page just in case. It says we have 35 sunspots with a SFI of 85, and the A index is 4 and the K is 0, so the bands are as quiet as can be, with an 85 solar flux.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. Do you have the same information?
What's the time on that? Is that October 8th at 0, what time?
Actually,
Right above the SFI, you should have the date and time.
yeah, I don't even want to tell you because it's saying September.
I'm seeing October 8th, SFI is 86, sunspot number is 13.
Yeah, now I'm kind of curious why this is saying because September
You
3rd.
might have to refresh it.
I just did, which is the weird thing. Let me do it again. Oh yeah, October 8th, sorry. Still, it's 86 now.
86, right.
Yeah, but only 13 sunspots. And the A index is 5, not 4 now. But we still have a K index of 0. So again, it's still very quiet. Not as quiet, but very quiet. And 86. So even better solar flux than we had before on September 3rd anyway. But yeah, that's pretty good. Only 13 sunspots though, as opposed to, what did I say, 35?
Yeah.
But that's interesting when you think about it. We have 13 now, and we have a solar flux of 86. And then we had 35 solar sunspots. Yeah, it's probably the difference between Earth facing and...
Which way they're pointing.
Right, exactly. Maybe what we should do is, as we circle the sun, we should like build a
Little
reflector.
parabolic.
Yeah, right. We should build a big parabolic
Drag it
dish.
out as we go along.
Right, and then, well, that's
Well,
how we
you
put the
no,
satellites
you
out
put it
there.
off to the side, and put them on both sides, right? You could direct them towards.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but I figure, yeah, if we put them on, but we just surround the whole sun.
Well, there we go.
And then, right, and then we're always on the inside, and it's always gonna reflect back to us.
It's a Dyson sphere, they call it.
There you go.
Yeah, we should actually consider, investing in that.
You get Elon to build one of those.
Well, you know what'll happen, they'll all complain about the wall again,
Oh.
and how many years of that. So, and they'll be like, you can still get over the wall, and it's like, well, yeah, if you wanna visit the rest of the solar system, you have to be able to. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, what a great idea, and it could just be like, Reynolds tinfoil.
Yeah, yeah.
Just, you know,
Pretty much.
all they gotta do is get like a big thing with a stick in it, and as we're going around the sun, just somebody hold it out in space, and they just.
International Space Station be useful for something.
It's not gonna go anywhere, right?
It should.
No, I mean, it's tinfoil, it's just hanging there. So,
Freeze all the planets beyond our orbit.
The heck with them. Who needs
Well-
Saturn?
okay, so what we can do is probably angle it like maybe towards the bottom, so that the sun can get over the top past to other planets.
Yeah, the heck with them.
I mean, and maybe it could be a small strip of aluminum,
Just enough to.
like over the mid-latitude section of the Earth. That way, only we get the benefits of the atmospheric sun cycle. That's not a bad idea.
That's pretty good. And then you could put some kind of a blockage in there, so it doesn't go to the East Coast.
That's not a bad idea.
Then when the contests come up, they can't make any contacts.
We could actually just rip a little hole in the foil, and that's fine.
There you go.
I thought we compensate for that with the California kilowatts.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that this is a really good idea, and we should talk to the FCC about it. Something to consider anyway.
So
For the April 1st contest anyway.
we're all writing it, right?
Right. The bogus story
So,
contest.
anyway, this time I actually tried to participate in the California QSO.
How many hours did you start? At what time?
I started it right at 9 and I finished at 3
3 p.m. the next
the
day?
next day.
Okay, so
And slept overnight,
from,
whenever. Well, there wasn't anything
well,
happening.
I don't know, Bob, you go to bed at 8 o'clock, so.
Well, I know, but I got up at 5, so.
Okay, so it made up.
We made up for it. So I made,
He's working on John time.
yeah, I made about 50 more contacts than I did last year. Made 545 contacts and 54 multipliers.
Wow, 54 multipliers.
And yeah, I missed 4. Unfortunately, for this club, I was only working phone, so I only made 58,860 for my total.
How much?
58,860.
Oh, so we just kicked your butt,
Yeah,
working 6 hours.
I know.
And now, is there a difference in the points?
Yes, I only get 2. You got 3.
Okay, so it is like field day where we get extra points for, yeah, this is why you should be
I
working
know. I
CW.
couldn't. I tuned in the CW band, and it just went.
Yeah.
I would have to spend so much time pulling the call signs and the areas and
Sure.
all that kind of stuff out. I couldn't make contacts
Yeah.
fast enough.
There's a solution to that, actually.
I mean, like studying and
Yeah,
practicing.
take the class.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, actually, speaking of the class, I have to report that I have, I think, 8 or 9 in the class. It's a very small class this time. As a matter of fact, we're not in here because it's not necessary, so we're in that corner room over there. And I think there are only 1, 2, 3, 4 tables set up, so there's got to be 8 students. So Andrew, K6OP, I think is called, he's taking the class again, and Knoll is taking the class, John Knoll, because he moved to Newcastle from down here in Sacramento, and he hasn't set up his radio yet, so he's kind of trying to keep his chops up, and he figured the class would be a good way to stay on top of code. And I agree with him. And it's a social thing too.
Yeah.
So John and Andrew, and that leaves 6 people, and of the 6 people, they're all brand new. Nobody's taken the class before. And I have completely changed the teaching of the class. So in week 2, I was already teaching week 5 stuff, because I found that they were absorbing very quickly. And for example, week 3, I taught them the numbers, which we don't normally learn until week 5 or 6. So the only thing, we kept on, of course, with the regular course of the letters for each week that I always do each week. But I've been putting more emphasis on anticipation, knowing when, reading what you're writing as you're writing it down and trying to figure out what the person is saying to you. I put more emphasis on the placeholders and when to move on, and I started discussing more early on QSO information. And like I said, on the 3rd week, we just had 4 week last week, or yesterday? What's today? Thursday? Yeah, so it was last night. So we had 4th class last night, and we had the week before were the numbers. So next week we're going to learn YZQ, and normally we learn YZQ in the numbers. So now that they already have been able to study the numbers, I gave them a little brief tests on it, and most of them were doing pretty well. But the interesting thing that I found was with this class, I'm able to send about 13 words per minute, and they're actually copying all the words and all the letters at 13 words per minute. And typically speaking, at this point in week 4, they're only copying somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 words, 8 words a minute. But these guys are at 13. So I'm really looking forward to getting into the QSO format and the pro signs. Last night we spent a lot of time talking about antenna theory, because there was, they just sucked up the letters so fast. It's like F and L, those are usually hard letters. And I gave them to them for about 15 minutes. We practiced them all, and then I changed the teaching a little. So now I'm, instead of just sending and repeating and the echo exercise we do, I'm actually sending them the letter and making them tell me what the letter is. Because they're small groups, so I send it, you have to tell me what the letter is. And I'm sending J's and F's and L's and B's and C's on the first night they learned it after 20 minutes, and they're getting them all right. So I only have one student. He's not falling behind, but he does have a little bit of a burnout issue where after about 20 minutes of drilling him with code, he starts getting fatigued. And that's normal, it's a lot it's hard to get your brain to go. So I just pretty much equated it to going to the gym. I said, you go and you can do 10 reps, and then the next time maybe you can do 12, and the next time maybe you'll do 15. But you're not going to start with 25 reps on the first, which is kind of funny me talking about going to the gym. But in any case, I told them that that's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that, and if all you can take is 15 minutes, then spend your 15 minutes every day, and then the next day maybe you'll be okay for 20, but once you get into a QSO, it's going to be more exciting, and you're going to be tired no matter what, but you push through it. So I have really good hopes for this group. I think this group is actually going to do well, and I have one lady in the group, and she's keeping up with everybody, which is good. That's Linda. I don't know if you know Linda. Gosh, I don't know her call sign. I'd have to look it up. But she's with I think she's with the Western Placer Group.
Mhm.
So she won the class at the Lincoln Swap Meet, not this last one, but 2 years ago. And she didn't want to get the jabby jab, so she didn't want to come to the last class that was in person. And she didn't want to take the Zoom class because it's Zoom, and I don't blame her. But and I told everybody who took the Zoom class, if you want to take the Zoom class, you'll still get for free the in-person class when I do finally teach it. So the Zoom class happened in April because it was supposed to start in September the year before, and the church was still shut down. So finally in April they opened, or no, they hadn't opened by April, and I was so tired of waiting, I said, okay, fine, I'll do it on Zoom. So I went ahead and taught the class in Zoom, and I had like 12 or 15 people. I also had someone from Texas and Arizona, or 2 Texas and an Arizona attending, no, Texas, Arizona, and Nevada. I had a Texas, Arizona, and Nevada, because I wanted to try to see how it would work for the people far away. Because then I could just open a Zoom class for the country. They learned, but I have to be honest, for the out-of-state people, first off, for some of them it was a little late, because, we go till 9 or 9:30, and it's already 10 or 11, and they're old, so they're wanting to go to sleep. So, and one of them was actually heavily medicated because he had a surgery, and he couldn't stay awake. So what I offered for those 3 people was I would record the Zoom meeting and then send them the Zoom meeting after, or I would send them the link so they could watch the Zoom meeting anytime they wanted during the week, for the 1 week, and then I removed it. So that worked out for one person in Texas. He watched it during the day when he was up, and okay. And then the one in Nevada, he watched it as a reference after the class because he just needed a little extra bump. So he was at the class every time, on time, and he watched live. And in the Arizona, after a few meetings, he dropped off coming into the class and just watched the videos later on. So I'm glad I made the videos. I actually saved them too, thinking I could always use them. And I think, oh right, so what happened was I told all those people, 12 or 15 of them, they could all come to the live class. And then this is the live class starting in September, because that was the April class. I made it Zoom instead. So the church opened, I found out, and I booked September. So we started September 15th. And of the people in the Zoom class, not one of them decided to come to the in-person class, which was, to me, was amazing. But you know what? I'm feeling like there's something wrong here. I think what happened was, I have it wrong. April of 2020 was supposed to be, April of 2020 was supposed to be the live class. It's gotta be Ron. Ron, is that you? But, so April was the live class, and it got delayed because of COVID and the church being closed, so my back's sorry. So I taught the class on Zoom in September. That's what it was. So September was the Zoom class, and then I offered everybody who wanted to take it live when we got back to the church, and we got back to the church in person in April. So nobody from the Zoom class, I don't think, showed up to might have been one, I don't remember anybody specifically, so I think it might have been 0. So nobody showed up to the April in-person class, and then I told everybody, you know, you had your chance, that was it. You wanted to come, you could have come. And they didn't. So I said, you know, now if you want to come, you're a returning student. And a returning student means they have to pay for no equipment, like, yeah, they don't have to pay for the key and all that. Incidentally, the class is $50, or was $50, and MFJ has increased the price of the key to $60 now. So they're actually getting the class for less than the price of the key. Yeah, pretty crazy. But, so this class here, Linda, she won it just before the COVID, so I guess that was, when was the Lincoln thing in 2019.
Yeah.
2019 she won it. Didn't take the Zoom class in April. She was supposed to go to the September class. Nobody went to the September class. Could have taken the Zoom class. Didn't take the Zoom class. Could have come to the April class in person, but I was requiring jabs and face diapers. So didn't come to that class either. And I understand, you know, I wasn't gonna force anybody to get jabbed or face diaper up. So I told her I'll extend it another 6 months, and now she's in this class here. So, yeah, that was a long wait on her win. We did another giveaway at the Lincoln swap meet. At this last one, they gave away another class, and I don't remember who it was that won it, but I don't think it was a member of their club, but it was a gentleman, and he came over and he said, I won the Morse code class, I'm looking forward. So, but I didn't get his information, I just gave him the certificate that says, you know, he needs to contact us and sign up for the class. He has a year, that's what I did, is I said, you've got a year. So if he doesn't make it in the April class, he can go all the way out to September. And then after that, certificate dies. But he'll get a free key, and that's, like I said, that's worth $60. He can always sell it if he wanted to. So we'll see. Yep. You need the key to the bathroom?
Yeah.
So we'll see if he makes use of it or not. And if he does, then I have currently 3 people waiting for the next class. I'm hoping and praying that I have at least 8 people again, because it's getting real hard to teach class when it's like this, you know, with 3 people in a room. To me, that just doesn't feel like a class. It just feels like 3 people in a room. So
Feels like tutoring.
yeah, it's more like tutoring. And if I'm going to do that, I can do that at my house.
Yeah.
I mean, I could set up a table and 3 of us can sit at a table. So, yeah, I would like to see at least another 4. So if you know anybody who wants to learn Morse code and they're interested in signing up for I've already scheduled it actually, looking at the home page on the website, it says that the next class is April 13th of 2022 to June 15th. So again, it'll put us right there, which is how I planned it, 2 weeks before field day. That way they've learned their code, and you know, you don't need to know code in order to join us for field day. All you need to be able to do
Have
is
fun and log and
yeah, and but they can get on the air, because if
That's
I
true.
can put, you know, all you have to say is this,
yeah.
they know the letters, they can send the letters, they can always say CQ W6SFM, and then they can give out the number and the section. So they could definitely send code, and we had that last field day when we were out here. We had 2 students that went through the class that in that April class, and they joined us, and both of them got on the air, and they were I think one of them made like 12 or 15 contacts, and the other one made like 8. So they had a difficult time when the person sent back because they were like, and then the person answering was, and I was just like, man, what?
Thanks a lot.
Sure. Who does that?
Oh, the people with keyers that they type on the
Right,
type
the
on
keyboards. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's hard to believe that people do that to each other, but they do. So yeah, they had a difficult time copying. There was one or two where I sent QRS just to see what they would do, and they did slow down for them. So that
What was
worked.
that contest?
Sometimes.
You get the guys that come whipping on through, and it's like, but I've noticed people just listening and searching to hear people, especially callers. If somebody calls to them really slow, they'll slow it down.
Right.
They want the content. But
Yeah, I think that I sent QRS once or twice, and they actually slowed down. The biggest problem that we get is people don't understand slowing down doesn't mean da-da, 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 da-da.
Yeah.
You know, they keep the keyer speed at 40 words a minute, and then they put, a
They
10 word
push
per
the
minute.
letter.
yeah.
Yeah, or if they're on a keyboard, they're
Yeah.
just pushing one letter at a time. But yeah, that's the big problem when you QRS somebody and they keep their keyer speed at 40, but then they go ahead and send you, 10 words a minute at a 40 word per minute character.
Mhm.
Student never learned 40 word per minute characters, so to them it's just, that's just how it is. So hopefully, I was just begging for people to find me students for the class. I've actually got it advertised on the website now for April 13th through June 15th. So if you know anybody or you announce it, or even I've had people drive down from Reading. I've had them come from Chico, and where was it that Andy lived? Red Bluff. Yeah, I had a student from Red Bluff, and I've had a student from Oakland.
This is why you're going to have to go into the radio store, put up a brochure.
Well, luckily, JoJo posted something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they've been announcing it on nets, I'm told, which is great. That's really where it needs to be, where the guys who are using the FM radios can hear that there's going to be a class. So I may have to raise the price though, because I'd like to at least cover the cost of the key, and that doesn't include shipping. Of course, I ship in 10 keys at a time, so shipping's like $35, so it comes to about $3.50. And technically, I'm supposed to charge tax because it's still a sale in California, but I'm selling the class, not the key. So they're getting the key for free, so it's a resale item, basically, out-of-state purchase from MFJ. So there's no tax there, and then the student pays for services, not for hardware.
And they're renting the key.
They're not renting the key.
Well, but I mean, at the end, it's depreciated, right?
Well, they don't need, we don't even need to talk about the key because they're paying for they're just getting a key.
Right.
But yeah, and like I said, you could sell that thing on eBay if you just decide you never want to use it again. And by all means, I'm happy if they do, because I'd like to see them use that money to buy a real key. They should own a real key. One of the guys in the class now, he 3D prints, and he's been printing 3D bases for the flameproof keys, and then he unscrews the bottom and he fills them with lead shot.
Oh, is that why it's so heavy?
Yeah, and then he screws it closed. So, the base is about that thick.
Oh, it's not that.
No, it's not that bad, but it's about a half an inch, and he fills the hole inside, and then he puts his screws up into the key instead of down through the top. So the key is like got no screws in the top. It's just sitting there flat on his fancy little 3D printed base. And then yesterday he came into the class with a little 3D printed box with a speaker on it and a switch, and it was a sine wave oscillator, and it was even louder than that thing there, which is hard to believe. I think he has the same speaker. You have that little conical. Yeah, that speaker is super loud, and he had that with a square wave at about 450 hertz. Yeah, that's loud for that little speaker. So he had the volume like not turned up too high, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. Oh, no, the volume goes up, and it was like, yeah. I was like, wow, that's loud. So, but it was like a beautiful tone, and I said, okay, next week you bring in 10 more of those.
Yeah.
I'd love it. I mean, I'd actually build the boards again if I had someone making enclosures for me. But do you remember? I think you didn't get did you get an MFJ key? Or did you get?
I got the early one with the board.
Yeah, the
And
board.
I gave you a bunch of speakers.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were any good or anything.
Some of them were. I used some of them. They were in the big styrofoam,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I think I have some more in the garage. I'm not sure. But yeah, they were just a little circuit board with 555, and I potted the board. Well, you have it inside
It's in
there? Yeah. So that worked really well. I mean, I think that was like $12 in parts and circuit board, so it wasn't not terrible. And then plus the wire and the speaker and the 9-volt connector, and then the key. I think the key was $12, and then the base. I was getting the bases over at TAP, and they charged like $2 a base.
Yeah, so it wasn't worth it just buy the MFJ one.
Well, at the end, I think the club made like $3
Yeah.
because I think we were doing the class for what, $25, and I think we were spending like between $20 and $23 for all the parts. But again, it wasn't about selling somebody the key. It was about just getting people in to take Morse code. So it's the same thing now, you know. I bought keys. It turned out I actually had enough keys left over, so I didn't lose any money. But I didn't lose any money, but I didn't make the club any money on this class. And then I've already bought new keys for the next 2 classes, which I am going to take a huge loss on, unless I raise the price. So I'll probably bring the class price up, and then, you know, I'd like to see the club make at least $5 per person. Over the course of, I think it's been 6 years or 7 years of teaching, I think I've made the club something like $2,000. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It was doing really well because we were putting 22 students in per class. For the longest time, every single class was 22 people. So you could understand why it bothers me to teach 3 people in a class when I used to fill rooms, and now I'm filling a tiny room, but it doesn't feel quite the same. So we'll see what this next class is, and if the next class isn't as good, then I may have to do it once a year and just hope that I can get enough people. We'll see.
If people come back out.
Hopefully people are getting out of the house.
Yeah, exactly. I would also like to see people retake the class, because so many people I know are not on the air, and they took the class and they learned, and I knew they did well because everybody, I kind of bring them up one at a time at the end of the class so I can see where their skill level is, and that way I can give them tips on the last night of what they can do to make improvements. And I've never had anybody who was just like not able to learn the code. I've had a lot of people where they didn't do any homework at all, and they only came to the class, and I could say send the alphabet and they could get through the alphabet, and then I would send them a word and it meant nothing to them because they could not go fast enough to to make a word. Bob.
Well, I was going to make a comment too, that we had a health and welfare net on the N6NA repeater for over a year. And out of the 100 people or whatever that were in the club, we had a group of about 8, maybe a few more occasionally, that would regularly get on there and just talk,
Right.
say hi, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it's 2 meters, which means everybody in everybody's license class can do it.
That's right.
And it's voice. They didn't have to learn CW. And the repeater system's good enough that they could use a handy talkie to get in on the thing.
Right.
And out of 100 people, 8 would talk. On net night, you probably have, 40 people signed up?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they give their call, their location, and their
It's
name.
just a check.
And that's it, they check in. And you can't get them to talk on anything. I have my radio on in my car every time I drive. I have it on at Mather. And nobody's on the air. And so getting people to be CW operators and get on the air presupposes they have an HF radio,
Yeah.
they have an HF antenna, and they got enough drive to turn the radio on.
Right.
And so I don't know what you do, how you get people on the air. Hello.
Well, Johan always checks in on 10-meter net.
Oh, he does checks on a 2-meter sideband or a 10-meter sideband net in CW. Oh well.
Without fail.
Yeah, he does.
That's okay though, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
I'm alright with that.
But that's okay.
It's legal anywhere, so.
Well, it is.
Technically, he's doing alright. And I have to admit that I used to go on the computer thing, what's it called, where you talk on repeaters all around the world.
Oh, echo
Echoes.
makers.
I used to hook my computer, my radio had the USB, goes to the computer. So I would put the echo link on the computer, and then I would tune in a repeater in Sweden or some country, somewhere else, and I'd send CQ over the repeater. And I can't tell you how many people would answer me, and we would have whole conversations while they were driving to work. Because in other countries, they actually know Morse code. And I tell them, I can't talk because I have no microphone, but I can send code through my radio onto the echo link. And they're like, yeah, no problem by me. And I did that for a long time, where maybe once or twice a day I would have a CW QSO where I was CW and they were voice, and they were on the repeater and driving to work or coming home or wherever they're going. So I'm guilty of the same sort of thing as well. That's kind of akin to the whole 10-meter sideband net. Someone's there.
Oh, we don't frown on Johan doing that at all.
No,
Yeah.
Actually, and you're way better on CW than on voice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now I've had some successes where they're like really great successes. For example, Brent, who used to be in your club, he moved to Hawaii. He told me when I went to the meeting and announced the radio class or the class, he told me that he has been trying to learn Morse code for 19 years. He was never able to learn code. And I said, you haven't taken my class. He said, I watched your videos, which are the class videos that I post. And he says, they didn't help me. And I'm like, well, of course, you never took the class. How are the videos supposed to help you? You don't even know what to do with them. And I said, take the class. If you can't learn Morse code by the end of the class, I will give you your $50 back. I said, I'd like to get the key back, but I'll give you your $50 back. Because at the time I raised it, I think it was to 50 because we were using MFG. And I think it was 50. Maybe it was 25. I don't know. But in any case, he took the class. By the time the class was over, he was doing about 13, 14 words a minute. And then he went and ran the slow code net on 10 meters every week or twice a week until he moved to Hawaii. So to me, that's a great success story. That's a guy who's telling me 19 years he's been trying to learn code, and now he's running the slow code net. He was kind of held back with IOM, and he was struggling with his code. But Another one is Burton. What's his name? Burton Gilbert or something like that. He's from one of the other clubs. He's a big DXer, and he took the class, and he left probably going about 12 words a minute, and now all he does is CW. That's it. He's like at 25 words a minute, and he's doing his contests because that's what he likes to do. So he was another one. Orion didn't know code, and he came and took the class, and now Orion does code. I see him do it when he goes out to the events. So that was another one that was really nice. A bunch of our members, David, CIM, he took the class, he didn't know code. Now, I don't think he does anything but code. So we've had a few where they learned code and they've actually gotten in the air, and that's exactly what I was after. Especially with like Orion, because he's gonna spread it like wildfire to all the kids, He wants people to have that aspect of it too.
So could we, like as a club, make loaner radios available?
I already do. I have that Halfway House for Keys program.
Yeah.
And I don't advertise it, but if I have somebody who comes to me and says, I need a key, my parents don't support it, or we can't afford it, that sort of thing, then I usually go to John and ask John for a wire antenna, and he gives me some wire, and I throw out some coax into, make a balun or something, and then I give him one of the radios that's been donated. Because some of the guys who donate keys to me on a regular basis, they also donate radios.
Okay, so you have some that will.
Yeah, and I had a kid, he was 16, and he came and said that he wanted a key, and he was really into World War II stuff. So I got one of my J38 on the J38 on the World War II base, the Baker-like base and everything, and I sent him that and a 10-tech Argonaut and a 80 or 40 meter dipole with coax and a power supply. And he took that, and then I think when he was about 17 and a half, he emailed me back and he said, I'm going to send you your radio back. And he said, I'd like to keep the antenna and I'd like to keep the key, but I'll send you the power supply and the radio back. Because I'm on the air every day now, and I just bought an IC7300. So he got a summer job, and he was able to afford a radio.
Wow.
And this is a kid who, he told me, his parents, the reason they wouldn't buy him a key was because they said to him they didn't believe that he would ever stick with it. He said, this is going to be a fad, and we're not spending any money on it. So, yeah, to me, that was a big deal. Yeah, and I had another kid who had a key for probably about a year and a half, and he would check in about once a week. Supposed to check in once a week, and you're supposed to operate for 1 hour a week, and then checking to make sure that you're keeping up with it. But he came back after about a year and a half, and he was probably doing like 13 or 14 words a minute. Nothing super fast, but better than nothing. He didn't have anything to start with. And then he asked for a bug, and I sold him a bug for $25. And the only reason I sell the bug is not because I couldn't just give him a bug, but because my thought is when you have something like a bug, that's a special key. That's not just a throwaway $20 Calrad J38.
Yeah.
So I want them to buy it, so they have to spend their money on
Well,
it.
there's some
And
skin in it.
there's some skin in the game. That's exactly what it is. I want them to feel like they earned the key. So they have to be in the Halfway House for Keys program for at least a year before I'll even let them approach it. But he did, and I gave him I think it was a original deluxe.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was $25. So and then of course he doesn't pay for the shipping, so the shipping was almost as much as and insured shipping was something like 14 or 15 bucks. So it was almost as much as he paid for the key anyway. But yeah, so he's on the air with that key now, and he uses the buzz all the time. So, and I think he's 14. So the program is done pretty good. Some people send me keys, some people send me springs and screws, and once in a while I'll get somebody who will email me and say, can I have a this and that key? And they'll be like 70 years old and they just want that key because they don't have one. Once in a while I'll get a guy who says, I have a XYZ key, do you have a spring for it? And I'll buy it from you. And I'm like, we don't sell parts. We're not a parts store. We use these to fix up the keys so we can give them to people. And then I think I had one guy he needed a spring, but he wanted the screws for the wire holders, but he wanted specific screws that matched his World War II key, and he wanted the spring. And I told him, I can't sell you the parts. He says, well, I'll donate a key if you'll let me have the spring and the wire nuts. And I said, okay, he's donating a key. So I sent him the 2 wire nuts and the spring, and he sent me a Bengali Intrepid.
Oh, oops.
So he didn't have lack of funds. He just didn't know where to find the parts, because that Bengali Intrepid is about $500 or $600 with shipping. So now I've got a Bengali Intrepid in the closet, it's brand new in a box. He said, I told him, I said, no, you don't get it. This is too much. And he said, I'm never going to use it. I bought it, I wanted to try it, and I just don't, it's not for me. So you go ahead and keep it. You can sell it and use the money for the program, or you can give it to somebody. I don't care what you do with it. So I haven't found anybody who's quite right for a Bengali Intrepid. I have one, and I use mine. And I will admit that I've loaned it to a few of the club members so that they could try it. Yeah, so they could see what it's like. It's kind of like handing someone your Ferrari keys and letting them try what a Ferrari feels like on the road. I figure as long as they don't drop it, then it'll be fine. But yeah, it still sits in the lockup, brand new in the box, waiting for somebody. It's not like I can use 2 of them, so I'm not benefiting from it other than to know that someday somebody will get that as a $25 key. And they will. Oh, they will. Promise you. Before I'm dead, some kid who's in my program after a year or a year and a half, if they're like that 17-year-old who came back at me, if he had said to me he wanted a bug, I would have sold him that bug for $25. Of course, I got it after you set the radio too. So, yeah. So there it is. In any case, I don't have a treasury report, but as I mentioned, we'll do the repair, and I think we have something like $6,000 in the bank. So this is not going to break us. We did. Oh, here's some news. Then we can wrap it. As you know, W6SFM, or maybe you don't know, W6SFM was not owned by W6SFM. It was owned by Howard Nurse, who runs Comcat, the program, and he also designed and built the Rig Pi unit that MFJ sells. And he owned the domain, and he also hosted the website for the last 7 years.
Oh.
So he has paid every penny for domain hosting and for our domain name, which I would estimate for over the last 7 years probably comes to about $800 to $1,000.
Oh my.
He's been very kind to us. He has been telling me for about a year and a half now that he ended Comcat Live, so there's no need for him to have the server anymore, because Rig Pi doesn't require a server, and he doesn't need to do the VoIP for the Rig Pi, or for the Comcat, and he doesn't have to do radio control control live through the iPhone to the Comcast program. So he's been telling me he wants to shut the server down, and May was his last month of Comcast support. So I went ahead and I had him transfer the domain name to us. I purchased, I think I purchased 3 years, that's all, because I figured in 3 years I'll redo it again. And of course I purchased the hosting for the site. So I run my server now, Web, Rig Expert, and PNC, W6SFM, and then my wife's thing. So I'm hosting them all on the same server. But I bought the server space and the domain name for at least 3 to 5 years. And I think the club spent $80. So just for that alone, and I didn't even bill for the hosting. That didn't even count the hosting. The hosting was I think the hosting for the year was $145. And come soon, and when I say soon, I don't really know how long, but probably within the next year, none of the hosts are going to give email for free anymore. They all want to charge for email, which means that our email server will cost $75 a year.
So if you have an old Mac account for email and stuff, you think Apple's going to start charging me? It's supposed to be lifetime forever.
It will be, because they're advertising, they're shoving ads into your mailbox, just like Gmail does. You know, every day you get a new email. When you throw away that junk mail, whoop, when another pops up in there. Same with Hotmail. They're all the same. You don't have to pay because they're advertising.
Right.
And they're selling your information.
Of course.
But if you own your own domain and you host your domain, there's nobody that can advertise to you because you have control of it.
Yeah.
So they are now going to require you to pay for email on the server. It doesn't limit you to how many email addresses you can have. So right now we have free email service because I grandfathered it in with my other sites when I switched it over. So we didn't pay the $75 for the year of email. We only paid for 3 years or 1 year of hosting, or not hosting, but domain name, and that was, like I said, $80. So it may start costing us about $300 a year just to maintain the website and email.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I said, Howard's been doing just an amazing job taking care of us, and that's why I said it's been, we didn't have to pay for email, neither did he. So take that part of the equation out, and that brings us to about $800 for the last 6 or 7 years that he's had it.
So should the club be thinking of either raising dues or having, like River City does, having a repeater fund, and then just having a main fund?
I don't think we're there yet, because we've bought a computer, we've bought some coax for the field day, we bought a Ballon, and the only other things that we spend money on are food for the events, coffee, donuts,
So we're okay.
So we don't have any large expenses, and I'm real frugal about how much we spend. So even when we had our last field day event, we had hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza during the lunchtime, sodas, waters, everything, and the whole thing was $80 or $88. So I'm pretty good about keeping the numbers in check. And with approximately 70, let me tell you actually, let's see, 1 second. Total members are currently, and keep in mind Howard doesn't pay. I've never charged Howard for membership. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So not counting Howard living, currently we have 78 members. So if you consider 2 times 78, that's how much money we should potentially collect every year. And that in itself is enough to pay for everything, yeah. And with us already having about $6,000 in the bank, unless we have a big expense like buying a radio and making a station, essentially. Like if the church said, you guys could have a station here and we'll give you that corner room. Maybe we put a Yagi on the roof and buy a radio, and anybody who wants to come operate the radio can come in during the day, or evening, anytime the church is open. So barring that, we have nothing to spend the money on anyway. So I don't think we'll ever get low enough that we have to worry about it. So, all right, John, thanks for joining us at the meeting, and it's about 9 o'clock. Believe it or not, I was able to stall us for that long.
See you, John. Take care.
Yeah.
And so I guess the next thing is the bug roundup in November. I'll send out an email to everybody in the club asking them to sign up for 2 hours if they're interested to operate the bug roundup again. I'd love to see some more participation. And last bug roundup in May, we had enough people that we were on the air all but 4 hours of the entire 72-hour event. So if you operate a bug, please try to give me 2 or 4 hours sometime over the weekend. You know, it doesn't have to be all in a row. Maybe 2 here, 2 there, or 1 here and 3 over there. So I'll send out an email asking people to do that, and then otherwise Tuesday night tech.
There's if I can remember right, in QST there's a bug activity sometime this month. Near the end of the month.
Benny had his event. He came up with something like a bug roundup,
Yeah.
same thing, and he had it like a week ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Benny was in our club. He dropped out of the club, and he used to work the bug roundup for us, and he's no longer working the bug roundup because his group grew so big. He just kind of figures he'll do his thing. I don't think it's anything personal. I think he just grew big fast, and he's very international. You know, he's got members all over the world, and you have to be invited into his club.
Ooh.
Yeah. So no, there's a few of those. CW Ops is like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, John. You look good. You're not looking green, or that's good to know. And appreciate you coming on the Zoom and checking in. Yeah. Well, as long as you don't cough on me, I'm okay.
Try safe.
So
You
yeah.
too.
All right. So I'll talk to you later.
I couldn't get on the air last week and I was in bed.
All right.
I had my third
Night, John.
Pfizer shot together with the flu shot.
And it killed you?
Yeah.
And it put me in bed for almost 4 days.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, the combination.
So don't do them at the same time would be.
That's what they're recommending, is separate them, yeah, by a couple of weeks.
Well, I had Moderna and they, haven't approved the booster.
All right. So for those online, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. We'll see you next month. Hear you on the net Tuesday at 8 p.m. And then if you're a club member, please sign up for some club member time. And then we'll
get all sorts of
get
vaccinations.
everybody going in 72 hours. And that should be good. If you're out of town, that's even better. And if you're not a member and you're watching, by all means, feel free to. If you're not a member, by all means, feel free to sign up for Bug Roundup at www.W6SFM.com.
And vaccinations,
All right,
they
take care.
stay
Talk to you
out
later.
there, your life.